Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Friday, March the 5th. I'm Gary Stevens. First Friday of the month, our 9:30 segment, we spotlight the Holland Department of Public Safety, either the police department or fire services. Last month, we had Bob Bursma, the captain of the police department, talking with us. So it's time to take a look what's going on in fire services. We are pleased to have the fire marshal for the city of Holland, Bret Groendyke, on the other side of our Zoom connection. Bret, good morning and welcome back to WHTC.
Hey, good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me back.
Glad you are with us. And if you have a question for Bret, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. Before I go much further, there was a story that Peg has been talking about over the last couple of days, at least yesterday, I believe. And I'm going to ask her to come in from the newsroom to talk a little bit about what she was reporting. Go ahead, Peg.
Which story, Gary?
About fire safety.
Oh, yeah. We've had a number of fires. There was a little child who was rescued in Kalamazoo, but just generally, this is a very challenging time for house fires, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. In Holland, we saw between January 1st and the first week of February, we had 5 home fires.
So the question is, why?
Isn't that always the question? In each of these cases, a lot of this stuff was preventable. And that's why it's so important that, again, we have these continuous conversations that we have. There was a human factor in each of these fires. One of them was caused by cooking. One of them was caused by an overloaded outlet. And so when you get things like that didn't need to happen, that's what we're out here trying to prevent.
I think that's one of the things too. At least one of the notices you all sent out were, hey, you should have an open entrance and exit to your home. And that actually, because of all of those stories and those warnings, I've been working on decluttering my house because I'm terrible for setting this pair of shoes on the steps and, that box I'll bring up later. And I just realized this last week, I've been too busy to honestly do this, but I'm like, I better clean this out because I'd be in trouble, but also firefighters. I mean, it's not enough for people to get in and out of their house. You guys are trying to run in and help people out. And the last thing you need to do is step over somebody's box of whatever or their lamp that they meant to repair that's sitting in the middle of a stair.
Yeah, and that's what we run into whenever we're going into any house. I mean, and now add to that you effectively cover your eyes and close them and try to get out at the same time. That's what we're working against. And you're trying to, at the same time, search and find life, people, pets, things like that are in those items also. And we train on this pretty regularly. We train on searching, and actually just this past Wednesday, the shift, the lieutenant on that shift is Firefighter of the Year, Anthony Van Heisen. And he was doing training for that shift, and we went through training evolution with how to do searches in a basement or how to do searches in a bedroom, things to look for, and then how to remove people out. But it's something we train for. It's something we prepare for, and we do what we can with it.
And so that cleaning out your house, first of all, besides just having a cleaner house, you're going to have a safer place to live. And if there's an emergency, you all aren't going to end up with a broken ankle or worse because something got left somewhere or there was an unintentional obstacle.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think we're all guilty of it. I mean, there's probably shoes in my breezeway right now that I should move away from the door. It'd be helpful. But it's one of those things that it's complacency that leads to later failures. And when we're trying to have good outcomes, that little bit of prevention of maybe I should move these items out of my doorway and just in case I have to get out in an urgent fashion, that would be very beneficial to everybody.
395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question for Holland Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450. Let me step aside for a moment. We'll talk more about fire safety tips, especially one that will be we'll think about for next Sunday, the 14th, in a few moments. But I want you to talk a little bit about the Firefighter of the Year. You mentioned it very briefly. It is one thing to be a good firefighter. It's a good thing to be a teacher. It's good when you can combine the two, as our Firefighter of the Year has certainly shown.
Yeah, absolutely. Lieutenant Van Huysen does an excellent job of those things.
What goes into the decision-making process when a decision is made? I'm not certain whether or not you're a part of it, but as a leader in the fire services, I would think that you might be. So that's why I'm asking you this question.
Lieutenant Van Huysen is somebody that, number one, he's just got a positive personality. I mean, he's a guy that you want to come to work and you want to be around. And if there's qualities in the fire service that you want to see everybody have, I think that's one of them. He's somebody that's always, what more can we do? And we have these conversations fairly frequently. And another thing that he does that's a really positive quality is, I alluded to that training earlier. And he's somebody that will go back through and we will deconstruct an incident. And okay, we did this, but what could we do better in the future on the next one? Because we tend to be perfectionists, and the fire service is it is an art, and you want to be good at it, you want to be effective at it. And he's somebody that will go back through and deconstruct an incident. We'll talk about it. What could we do better? And that's again a great quality that if any firefighter that you want, and he has it, that's what you want to see out of people.
395-1450, 395-1450. If you have a question about fire safety with Holland, Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke. I just picked up on something you just said about we tend to be perfectionists. And I would think in a firefighter situation, Bret, that's not an unusual attitude to have, because if there's a mistake when firefighters are battling a blaze, usually there are consequences that you really can't go back on. So yeah, being a perfectionist might be part of the job risks, because you don't want to make a mistake that might end up with injury or loss of life.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why we train so much. In the city of Holland, we ran just under 4,000 runs last year. And every time that we go out, it's not just, there's so much that goes into every single incident in terms of driving effectively and safely, getting there, making safe entry into wherever, if it's a vehicle or if it's a residence or if it's an EMS call, whatever the call is for service, we train for each of those things in a different way. Our training safety officer, David, he's working through and setting up a lot of things to make us, again, more proactive in that area. And so there's a lot of things that go into every single thing, that every time we go out, we want to provide the best possible service that we can. Captain Tinney reinforces to us a lot about positive outcomes. What can we do with every incident, with every interaction, to have a good positive outcome on whatever call it is that we go on? And a lot of that comes down to training. I mean, that's what it is. And I feel a lot of that. I think a lot of us in the department feel a lot of that, okay, what can we do to solve the problem? Because I mean, you try to be a perfectionist in an imperfect world, and you have to play the hand that you're dealt. There's no other way to do it. And that's what we strive for each and every day.
395-1450. Let's see if we have somebody on the line. Good morning. You're on the line with Holland Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke.
Hi. I just wanted to say our grandson was just hired in at the Colorado Springs Fire Department, and he's going through the academy, and he's just loving every minute of it. But he said to me, Grandma, if you're ever in a fire, first thing to get out, get on your knees and follow the wall or the railing or whatever. But he said, get down on your knees and crawl to the door. And I've always been a big stickler about not keeping anything in a pathway to get to the door. But how do you feel about that? Is that a good way to do it?
Yeah, and I think that's just your grandson showing you some love right there and caring about you. I think that's cool. And other things that go along with that. Like I sleep every night with my bedroom door closed, just to make sure that in the event that something else happens in a different part of the house, that smoke isn't going to reach me. And that smoke is what overcomes people and would make getting out very, very difficult. And we try to educate on a rule that if you get to a door and there is smoke down past your chest or smoke to the point where you can't see, close the door. And if there's a window, and if you're on the first floor or something to that effect, and there's a window, that is also a very good option. You have, believe it or not, even if there was a fire in a different part of, let's say, a ranch style home, if there was a fire on another side of the house and you close your bedroom door, you're going to have quite a bit of time and you're going to be able to isolate yourself from that fire. And then when you call it in, hopefully you have maybe a cell phone in the sleeping place wherever you are. And then you can call it, when you call 911, tell the dispatcher, because their role is extremely important in these events also, tell the dispatcher where you are in the house and we'll come get you. I mean, that's something that we, again, train on, we practice on, we prepare for that. And that's just what we do.
Very good advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the call.
Good luck to your grandson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. Good morning. You're on Talk of the Town. We're with Holland Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke.
Oh, good morning. I'd like to compliment the fire marshal on their program they have where they come into your home and install fire detectors for you. I had one the other day that needed a battery, and I'm handicapped. And they come in, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and they replaced the old one and put a new one up. I got to compliment him on that program. So, and I just was wondering now, the government, I guess, gives them money for this, or they get grants. What about CD and things? Can they get money for those, to put those in your house too?
You're talking about the carbon monoxide spotters?
Right.
Okay.
So that's my question.
All right, go ahead and listen off air. Thank you very much for the call. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, and that's the crews that do that. So I don't know where it started, but I'm happy that it did. This department, the Holland Fire Department, has a long history of being proactive in this area, where if they're on whatever the call may be, if they hear that chirp that indicates a low battery or a bad smoke alarm, we keep extra smoke alarms on the truck to fix that. A lot of that is funded by private donations. We have a donations account at the fire department where we bought a lot of smoke alarms, and that was running low. So we go out and we buy more, and they'll change them. They change batteries. I had that drilled into me by a lot of my lieutenants when I started there, is like, this is what we do. This is, if you hear someone's smoke alarm that's going bad, we're trying to be preventative and proactive in that area. And so that's something cool that was instilled in me by, the officer group. And that's something that, again, I don't know where it started, but it's just, everybody should be happy that it did. And as far as the carbon monoxide alarms, we work to try to get those too. We have a much more limited supply of those, but I agree that it would be helpful if we could do those also.
I'm thinking, again, maybe I'm being overly optimistic on this, Brent, but I would think that eventually, within the next few years, we will see overall detectors, not only for smoke, but carbon monoxide, some of the other things that could go in. It'd be like an all-in-one type of situation and become really more common, instead of having one separate one for smoke and one separate one for carbon monoxide, or one for radon and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are quite a few detectors that are manufactured that are both, and we usually find those in mechanical spaces in homes, because you should have a smoke alarm on every level of your home and in every sleeping area. If there is an alarm in the mechanical space, usually it's combined with carbon monoxide alarm to be more effective in that regard. And the majority of what we're seeing now in new construction, what we try to see in everybody's construction, is integrated alarms. So again, earlier as we spoke, if there's an event that happens in a different part of the house, we want wherever it is that you're sleeping to be woken up, made aware of the problem, so you can act on it. You don't want to be, trapped in your home and have all the fire and the smoke going on, and then have it suddenly surprise you and cause more chaos that way. So
395-1450, 395-1450. Speaking about alarms, a week from Sunday, it is daylight savings time that begins. Thank you, Congressman Fred Upton, one of the co-sponsors of the bill that pushed the date up on an annual basis. Back, I think 2006 is when it was moved from the first Sunday in April to the second Sunday in March. But that was also not only a time to move your clocks ahead an hour, but it's also a good time to check on alarms. And tell us all about that.
Yeah. Again, when we look at where the alarm should be in our home, there should be one on every level of the home. And so first floor, second floor, third floor. And then there should be basement, third floor. They should be in every sleeping area. And then this is a good time to, again, change batteries and push the button to test and confirm that it works. That's also what we like to do. And it should be clean. They shouldn't have a lot of dust on them. You want to get the cobwebs out of them. As we go through into the warmer months and it gets more humid, if there's little cobwebs or anything like that that have accumulated in there throughout the winter, what we'll find is we'll get these false alarms at 2, 3 in the morning when the air is fairly still, there's not a lot of movement, and then those sensors get blocked or obstructed, and you'll start seeing alarms come in. That's something that we see fairly commonly in June, July, August times. So.
Peg, you have something?
I wanted to ask the fire marshal too, since the one lady called in about, was it her grandson who's a firefighter? You all are looking for people to get into your line of work. What should people know about becoming a firefighter?
That's great. Let's start there. I mean, you get to serve. You get to serve your community. You get to learn a skill that is applicable in a crisis, and it takes quite a bit to get there. I mean, in Ottawa County, they run a fire academy, and you would go to wherever it is, the department that or your township, city, the municipality that you're in, and go through an application process. I mean, from what I understand, a lot of communities are still in need of paid-on-call firefighters. So they'll go through the fire academy. They'll teach you the foundational basics at the state standard level. And from there, you'll get a pager, and it's off to help others. So that's how it goes.
395-1450, 395-1450. I want to bring this up. It's a serious thing, and I hope it never happens in this department. I hope it doesn't happen anywhere near here. I will say this. I recall a old Dragnet story that Jack Webb pulled from the LAPD files about a cop that went bad, and Jack had no patience for that at all. None at all. I am going to put this to you, your thoughts about when a firefighter, or in this case, a police chief, goes bad. David Crawford in Laurel, Maryland, the former police chief there, has been accused of setting at least a dozen fires to homes, vehicles, and garages across 4 different counties over a 10-year span. And some of his victims included his successor and a former city administrator facing multiple arson and attempted murder charges in connection with the fires. Brent, when a lawman or firefighter goes bad, it really makes a stain not only on his department, but also among firefighters across the country, because it is so easy for somebody who knows what they're doing in fighting fires to turn and become one that is a perpetrator of arson. It's just inexcusable to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And in that case, there was quite a bit of evidence that had been tied to from what my understanding of it is, there's quite a bit of evidence that had tied all those things together. So there's quite a bit of investigative work that went into that. Yeah,
because you and firefighters, you know what it takes to put out a fire, and sometimes that knowledge can be used the wrong way. That's bad. Let's get to the phones. 395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Holland Fire Marshal Bret Groendyke.
Hey there. Where can we get fire extinguishers recharged?
So the best thing to do with those is just buy a new one. If it's a business, then there should be a company that you're tiered with that provides both a current service tag and a check of those extinguishers. If it's something that you get from a retail store and it's either past the use date on the cylinder, or if it's discharged or anything like that, I would get a new one.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate the call. 395-1450, 395-1450. Consumer quality fire extinguishers, you say, are not really refillable. It's more, the ones that, like the one we have in our studio here,
Yep.
Those can be recharged. Or, I live in an apartment. Those can be recharged. But if
Correct.
it's a residential one, a consumer level one, no.
We encourage people, like if you've never used it before, to on a nice day actually discharge one. That material can be cleaned up. I mean, if it's in your driveway or anything like that, don't go crazy. But like you can use it and see what it looks like when you actually pull the pin, aim, squeeze, and spray, and use the sweep, and you can use the material and actually train on it. So it's not the first time you've ever used an extinguisher.
It sounds to me, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it for somebody who, yes, my dad was a cop, but he never taught us how to use a gun. No, the one time I tried using a gun at a firing range, it was pretty bad. No. That's why I don't handle weapons. It's almost the same thing with fire extinguishers. If you haven't had any practice with it, don't play with them.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be something that, like, if you're in a confined space in your home and there's significant flames and smoke, that's get out time. We're way past fight the fire time. We're talking about something that would be small and occur on your stove. Hopefully you're keeping an eye on what you're cooking, but if it gets away from you, that's what it's there for. It's not for fighting large scale involved rooms in a home. So.
And one final thing, there are some people who might say, yeah, I like having fire smoke alarms and stuff like that, but if I have some problems cooking, suddenly all these smoke alarms go off, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm just cooking. I'm controlling this right now. And it's almost as if, to me, it's almost like, boy crying wolf. You forget sometimes, you shut off the alarm because it's only you're cooking, and all of a sudden, we got issues.
Yeah. And there shouldn't be a smoke alarm in your kitchen. I recognize that there may be some homes that are set up that way. Try to move it away from an area where you're going to get a lot of nuisance smoke from maybe cooking or things like that. So it should be in areas where you're sleeping, hallways that are away from kitchens, so that you're not getting false alarms, and that you're not, I guess, dirtying the alarm so that it's not useful later.
He is Bret Groendyke. He is the fire marshal for the city of Holland with the Holland Department of Public Safety. Bret, as always, we appreciate your time, your tips about home and commercial fire safety. Wish you and everyone in the department not only well, but safe fighting, and hopefully not too much work for you guys. Less work for you. It's better for the entire community, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Agreed. Thank you, sir. Have a great day, Gary.
Thank you very much. That is Bret Groendyke on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.